Alrighty, folks, never a dull moment in the mortgage market after Fed Day. We need to understand that, yes, the Fed did not cut, but they certainly changed the narrative. They've certainly changed the timeline. And we are about to see some dramatic impacts in short-term, long-term mortgage bonds, all kinds of crazy stuff. Dustin, how you doing, man?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. I got to tell you, the Fed meeting, the Fed decision yesterday was a complete nothing burger. But that press conference, the dot plots, I think they spoke volumes, and I think they really changed, or at least attempted to change the mindset. I think they were a lot more hawkish than maybe the market was expecting.
I agree. I think what you said at the very beginning of changing the narrative was the biggest thing that I think you'll see on the news. And what I took away from it is, um, 6 months ago, it was kind of a party about how many rate cuts are we going to see and when are they going to come in 2026. And I think the narrative definitely switched to more so, what if inflation's here longer? Are there going to be any rate cuts in 26? Like, is there going to be one? I don't know now, right? Because that's definitely the narrative that was put on, at least from what Powell said. And I think you're gonna probably correct me, but I think only one Fed president said he was okay with a rate cut this go around. And I think six on the dot plot saw one, maybe seven,
Yeah,
eight,
yeah. So it was 11 to
small amount,
1. Yeah, 11 to
11 to
1.
one. Okay.
Fed Moran said rate cut. He's always been on the rate cut side.
Uh huh.
He's always been a dissent since he's been there. And it was actually 6 Fed presidents said zero rate cuts in 2026 was the
Okay.
headline, which is interesting because again, I think yesterday was, and I've said this to Jonathan Twomley, my multifamily investor. I think yesterday was a dramatic shift in we're going to see the multifamily market really evolve here in the short term. But let's stay residential for a minute. I think what the Fed did yesterday is it was their first step to a rate increase. Think about what I just said. The next rate move is not down, it's up. So, what was yesterday, in my opinion? Yesterday was simply going from we are in a rate cutting cycle, right? Which was what we were in, like
Yeah.
series of rate cuts. And what yesterday was a saying that we're done with that. We're higher for longer. They talked about in the Fed meeting that some Fed presidents wanted to talk about a rate increase. Again, this is all theater. This is all theater. So the next time they get together in 6 weeks, it'll suddenly be half the room is talking about rate increases. So I think yesterday most people missed it. The rate cutting cycle is over. The next move is up, not down. That's what I took from yesterday. Kind of crazy.
Yeah, and I think look, when we had our videos 3 months ago, 6 months ago, and we were predicting one, two, maybe three, etc.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that not just this podcast or community or the other ones that me and John have been on. I've always been maybe on the lower side, and it's not to beat my own chest, but I had a feeling there was going to be some sort of not a not black swan event, but like a light beige gray swan event, which is what's going on in the Middle East, right?
Yeah.
And that was very telling because I think oil itself is going to be a very big factor now, on top of inflation, with what the feds are going to have to try and control or figure out. And I know you told me this a few weeks ago, but I wanted to ask you because you always seem to be ahead of the curve here. Um, what made you know or think that it was time to kind of pull out from the markets a month ago, 3 weeks ago?
That was once again really good timing, right? And again, I shared this on the channel, right? You Convoy helped me extract, multiple six figures of equity in cash. So I appreciate that. And it wasn't, to me, it wasn't really timing the market. It just felt to me like we got to the bottom, right? We've been in this range for 2 years where 599 always seemed to be the bottom. And, working with you, working with, top guys like you, I was able to get 599 on a cash out refi, which basically was like, I don't think I can do better than this. And on the other side of that, I see tremendous opportunity coming in the debacle that is multifamily. and I needed to have cash so I could write crazy offers. So it wasn't like I saw an Iran conflict coming. It was just the realization that I thought we were at the bottom of the trading range and I needed cash. So, you guys helped me with that. Now I look like a genius because I don't think I couldn't get 6.5 today on a cash out refi.
Yeah.
So, I'm very thankful that, we pulled the trigger and you guys got it done for me. But yeah, it was more about the low end of the range than necessarily timing the market. But damn, I look like a genius today for sure.
Yeah, no, and I mean, I don't want to sound as if we've been boring Convo itself, but how many times and how many videos have we said we can get 5.8, 5.9 for the
Yeah.
last year and a half or 2 years, and people were still inching and waiting and sitting on the sidelines for that 5.6 or 5.5 or 5.7, right?
That
Um,
you got to know when you're in a range and you got to
yeah,
take the low end. Stop hoping for it to break below it because it didn't once again. Yeah.
no, it's all true, and then also interesting. I think every time the Fed speak, consumers and investors in the market are always looking. What did the Treasuries do? What
Yeah.
happened? Right? Feds didn't cut rates, but did treasuries go up or down? Right? They
Yeah.
went up, and that's all because of understanding that when Powell came to speak and hearing his comments after, that's what the uncertainty is always going to drive treasuries up. And that's exactly what happened. But I want to make sure that everybody, because we get this all the time, and yes, maybe yesterday it wasn't as much as it was Tuesday or last week, that people think the feds are cutting rates, and to understand that the feds do not directly influence mortgage rates. They will have an indirect correlation by, no arguments on that. But it's very important to note that 99% of mortgage rates are going to follow the treasuries plus a little margin,
Right.
in there. And right now we're at that low end. We're at the pre, COVID margins of 1.8, 1.9. And 2022 to 24, basically, we were at 280 to 300 basis points. Just know that it's very easy for market makers and lenders to raise that spread from 180 to 210 to
Oh,
220 to
it's going up.
250.
That's
Yeah.
that's the key. Again, I really think probably over the weekend people are going to realize what Jerome Powell and his cronies did, and they basically announced the end of the rate cutting cycle. And I don't think people picked up on that. And I think they really are starting to plant the flags that the next discussion is about a rate increase. And here's the deal. If this Iran war is still going on in 4 to 8 weeks, which it really seems like it's going to, it will also get worse before it gets better. We're talking about people dropping bombs on oil refineries and depots and natural gas and all of this. Dude, if we're not careful, oil and gas could be $200 a barrel. And you want to see wild demand destruction? You want to see pass through inflation? Woo! And the last
Oil's
thing I'll tell you is every recession except the pandemic since World War II was preceded by an oil shock. I'll say that again. Every recession, ex the pandemic, was preceded by an oil shock. What do we have today? It is that simple.
No, and it's I don't want to be one of those you always say it, but the
Doomers.
doomers, sorry. Doom and gloom, I was thinking. But what do you think? What do you think the actual biggest and most important task that the feds have to get under control? Oil is kind of going to be difficult. They can't get their, I would say, hands on fixing that. Like we've had
Yeah.
consistent like job wage growth, which was great, but then that's been put to the sideline because now our target inflation is what, 2.6, 2.7, two
Yeah,
eight
it's not good.
was
Yeah.
two. Like how do we fix this? What would you do if you were sitting at the helm?
Oh man. First off, I'd quit. Um, but the Fed is the Fed is in a really tough spot because this is what I see happening. And again, you can go back and study these to World War II, which I've done. We have an oil shock. I guess where this anchors for me is I do not believe the Iran war will be short. I just don't. I see it getting a lot worse. And because I think that, I think oil's going to 150 and 200's not out of the question.
Damn.
Then we have demand destruction. Think about gas doubling from here, doubling. That's going to cause mom and dad to not drive as much. We're going to see horrible demand destruction. We're going to see inflation, even in core. Now, energy and gas is not in headline, or it's in headline, not core, but you're going to see airline and food and all these other things because gas is in everything, oil is in everything, right? Shipping and all of that. So inflation is going to be a problem for a while, but the Fed can't fix oil. The Fed has zero tools to fix oil. They can't. It's like, hey, that's not my puzzle to fix. But here's the problem. Demand destruction leads to job losses. Now the Fed's in trouble. And a recession and bingo bango rate cuts. So the Fed might be in this environment where they're almost forced to increase once or twice into the teeth of a growing recession. And then it's right back to zero rates. I mean, that's a possibility. I don't really have a great answer, Dustin. I am not a doomer by any stretch, right? You cannot look at the content I put out for 8 years and say I'm a doomer. But I got to tell you, I'm afraid for the next 6 months. This could get out of control.
No, and that's what I think, because I have.
Oh, we lost sound.
The Feds didn't cut. We're good.
Yeah, you're good.
Am I good now?
You're good now.
Okay.
Sorry.
It was at like 2 or 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and I had a call with he's a very well off, owns multiple properties, but joking about the fact that like Feds didn't cut rates, we're good. We'll just keep riding through this. But I don't think until I digested the whole post conference as well as he did, that this meeting yesterday was a lot bigger than I think even the news outlets right now are really. They're just saying Fed remains, that's it. But they aren't talking about what we actually could see in front of us. And I'm not trying to be a doomer either. But I think it's very, very, very important if you're in this world, especially in the investor world, even if you're not, to keep track of what's going on in the Middle East and what that's going to do to the federal funds rates and all of that.
Yeah. So let's break it down to what again, we have a lot of investors in our community. What would I be doing today? One, I don't think it's too late to extract equity, right? If we are heading into an environment that's recession-like, I don't know about you, but I want to have more cash than not. Even if you got to pay 6.5 because you didn't refi when I did sub 6, it's a half point. It is what it is. You can't go backwards. Extracting equity today to sit on more cash, not a horrible idea. Second, being a home seller today, a flipper today, the exit sucks. Just sucks. Not the environment you want to be selling into. But know that. Offer the discounts. Do everything you can to get it off your books ASAP. And if that means take a loss, because this could go sideways. And then third, if you're an investor like me looking to buy, write even more disrespectful offers, because we are heading into an environment where supply is going to go up, demand is going to crash, and it's going to be relatively easy to find motivated sellers. So again, when there's chaos, there are tremendous opportunities. So yeah, for 15 or 20% of us out there, the next 6 to 9 months are going to be amazing because we have cash and we're writing crazy offers. I would not want to be a seller in this environment. No thanks.
No, I agree. And we've touched on this a bunch of times. When the rest of this community that's watching and all the investors, if you can take advantage of times like this where you can actually write disrespectful offers, that's where you should be the most excited.
Yes.
Not when everything's all high and dry, or not high and dry, but high and pretty, and everybody can make an offer. Not everybody's making offers right now.
No, it's so funny. I had a hater this morning leave a comment saying, basically saying, I wish we were back to 21 and 22 instead of today. I'm like, you are a complete moron. 21 and 22 were horrible years.
It was the worst.
Yeah. Everybody and their brother thought they were a guru and they were overpaying for anything.
Yeah.
That's not the environment I want. I don't
No.
want an environment where you got to be fast and pay cash. I want an environment where there's no competition, growing inventory, growing days on market, and I could just write stupid offers. That's what I want. And that's where we are. So don't tell me you want 21. You telling me you want 21 and 22 just tells me you're an idiot. No, I want today. I want 26.
I love it.
Well, if somebody wanted to get something started with you, do an equity extraction, look at a deal, whatnot, what do they do?
Go to convoyhomeloans.com and just mention that you came from ORAT. That way you can speak to me or John and not one of our employees.
Right. You don't want to be in a queue. You want to talk to the man, myth, the legend, yourself or your partner, Jonathan. All right, Dustin, take care. Have a good day.
Thanks, Mike.
Mm-hmm.